Yeah, Bill?
Let's straight away here.
Yeah.
What's the significance of this process for you? What's going on here today, Ralph?
But what's happening, it really started at the bottom. It didn't start at the top. This whole turning out and half of democracy is showing up. And just think, the attention of the country is now focused on all these events in New York and Washington, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, LA, and no more than 100,000 people have shown up so far. Now just imagine, what if 200,000? What if 500,000? The other thing is, there's really a plea for equity and justice. They've kept it at a general level, so they can't be stereotyped. But everybody knows what kind of changes are needed in this country, including the corporate bosses at the top who've crashed the country on the backs of workers, taxpayers, and investors, the bailout. They know that they have far too much power. They know they're guilty of greed and disregard of the needs and necessities of tens of millions of people. So people have a unified sense of fairness. After all, the golden rule has been around for a long time, and keeping it at that level is very important. There'll always be time later on for a more programmatic demand on Congress, because a lot of these things can't happen, like single-payer health insurance, cracking down on corporate crime, protecting living wages. Those cannot happen without these going through the processes of government. But let the ferment, let the turnout swell and become deeper and deeper.
Let me add to that point, because I think what Ralph makes the point that less than 100,000 people have shown up so far. The media's been forced to cover us. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the corporate media can't ignore us. Everyone who's watching this, you've got to come out and get out behind the laptop and come join us. If we double, if we triple the number of people out here, this is going to be unstoppable. They will not be able to ignore us, and our message of ending corporate rule will get out widely. So get out, watch this now, but get out behind your screens and come out and join an occupation near you, or come down to Freedom Plaza or Wall Street and get involved.
This is not a one-event situation like the Seattle turnout in 1999. This is continuing, unfolding, deepening, reflecting the creativity of people whose names we've never heard of, people who are coming out of the woodwork with great signs, music, great demonstration.
And the best slogan of all.
And the best slogan of all, we're the 99%.
I remember you giving a speech, Ralph, a few years ago in Baltimore, and that's almost your exact words. You reminded the audience, we are the majority.
Well, I do that everywhere.
Yeah.
We had a major rally on Wall Street in October 2008 when the Wall Street bosses were crashing this country, and it didn't get much coverage. The New York Times wrote it up, but these things have been happening, but you've got a new rhythm, a different kind of rhythm in terms of who's showing up, how they're showing up, how long they're showing up, how decentralized around the country is the showing up, and that's the least we can claim on the responsibilities of the citizenry. You start showing up. Half of democracy showing up. You start showing up where you live and work, and you'll see the power structure start heading for a nervous breakdown.
So Ralph, how close are we then to the tipping point where we can leverage some real change?
It's pretty far from that right now, but look.
Well, let me tell you something. Wait, Ralph, let me tell you what Chris
right.
said to me yesterday. Chris Hedges, I asked him, I asked him the same question yesterday, and Chris Hedges says he's been in every revolution around the world. He's seen them develop, and every time there's a revolution like this developing, they say what Ralph just said. We're far away from it, and it happens a week later, 2 weeks later. We don't know how weak the powers that be are. They're much more fragile than look. They've collapsed the economy once. They collapse it again, and they come back for another bailout. There's going to be a revolution real quick.
They've hollowed out our economy, these big corporations. In the process, they've hollowed out a lot of themselves. Exactly. So they are very fragile, and they need to be pushed. And what we all don't know is what's going through the minds of those people in those big buildings in and around Wall Street and the banks, what's beginning to go in the minds of the members of Congress and the White House. I can tell you one thing, although I can't document it, just based on my experience, they're starting to sweat.
Ralph, Chase Manhattan just donated $4.6 million to the NYPD to protect them from the protesters. Is that kind of like a constitutional, is that like democratic? How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know the details, but that's not supposed to be the right thing, because if they contribute, they're basically asking for public services corporately paid that doesn't strike me as being in conformance with the law.
They're not supposed to be mercenaries.
Maybe they've just done it as a general gift with a wink of the eye that the police should hoist the barricades to protect these big banks. But that's an example of how worried they are, even though this is a completely peaceful, nonviolent movement. It has moral power. Moral power is what they're afraid of more than anything else.
Let's go see some more of the...
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you. Freedom Plaza.
Thank you.